FC Barcelona are 8 points clear at the top of La Liga. I'll just say that again. Maybe you didn't hear it. 8 points clear at the top of La Liga, -8. Okay, between Barcelona and Real Madrid, and it happened courtesy of a pretty good 3-0 win at home against Sevilla. The Sevilla team who, honestly speaking, haven't been in the best of form this season, but we're starting to get into some form prior to playing Barcelona. But of course, Barcelona had to do what they had to do after Real Madrid slip up at Mallorca, losing a goal to nil. Honestly, that was a very terrible performance by Madrid, if I should say so myself. But I'm glad to see that FC Barcelona were able to capitalize and were able to move 8 points clear. So, hello, this is Blaugrana Everything. Welcome and welcome back if you're a returning subscriber or listener. And we're going to do a match review here for FC Barcelona's 3-0 win over Sevilla, but it's going to be just a little bit different than usual because, you know, every now and then there are moments that you must savor, right? Especially with FC Barcelona not going to be in action for a little while. You know, it's going to be a couple of days more than usual before we get to play Villarreal at La Ceramica, because, you know, we've really been used to seeing games every 4 days during this crazy season that has had a World Cup in the middle of it. And it's even crazier that FC Barcelona are 8 points clear. So if this is your first time here, by the way, hit like, hit subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. If you're listening from the podcast especially, please do leave a review. It would be greatly appreciated. Please leave a review. Okay? Thank you. Now, during that time, I probably flashed the Liga table, but in case you missed it, here it is again with FC Barcelona. That's right, 8 points clear of Real Madrid. And we're going to look at exactly how they accomplished that by just taking a quick look at how this team is set up, and then I am going to just give you some of what I believe are my takeaways from this game, and of course give team rating and the manager rating as well as the man of the match. So looking at how the team set up, it looked like this for FC Barcelona, the typical kind of, you know, 4-3-3 setup we would expect from Barca, except it's, you know, with 4 midfielders, so Gavi really isn't a left winger. He's more like a half and half, is halfway between a left winger and halfway between an interior. So, you know, like, you know, you've watched Barca recently, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, Sevilla on the other hand set up in a 5-3-2 formation, which looked a lot like this, sacrificing some numbers in the middle just to try and, you know, keep that box completely closed up, you know, tightening things up at the back, parking the bus on FC Barcelona. And did it work? Well, I would say that it did and it didn't. If you want to know exactly what I mean, let's just go straight ahead here and talk about some of my takeaways. The first one was, of course, that this match was in large part, I think, decided by some decisions that were made by Jorge Sampaoli. All right, so coming into this game, like I said, Sevilla were playing it pretty rigid at the back. It was a deep block, and FC Barcelona couldn't break them down during that first half. And I was thinking it was going to be a long night for us as Kool-Aids and probably a frustrating one. But Jordi Sampaoli, the beautiful man that he is, decided during the second half that he was going to switch things up, starting with the 2 substitutions that he made up top, which honestly didn't make sense for me, and then going on furthermore to make a few more changes, asking his team to play a lot further higher up, you know, pushing up on FC Barcelona, trying to put Barca on the back foot. And look, if this was last season, that would have probably worked, or the season before that, it would have definitely worked. But this season, no, because this team is just too good at taking the ball off the opposition and playing on the counter. And that's exactly what happened and what led to FC Barcelona's first goal, which I have to say here, hats off Frank Kessie. That was some saucy football in the box. Taking that ball, just holding it, rolling his defender before flicking it through for Jordi Alba, who had a very calm finish, which I think any striker would have been proud of. And after that, basically, it was Barcelona's game to be lost. And Jorge Sampaoli then made an even more peculiar decision, because he then went halfway between attacking and defending. He still kept that back five, but there was a huge gap now between the back five and the rest of the team, because the midfielders and the attackers were starting to push up a lot more. So that hole that people like referring to between the midfield and the defense really widened. And once that happens, you just know that players like Gavi, like players like Pedri, like players like Raphinha, like players, like Lewandowski are going to love that, and they're going to take advantage of it. And it kind of led to more goals for FC Barcelona, although the second one did come from a brilliant long ball forward by Jules Koundé over the top of that back five, which again decided to push up and just left so much room that Raphinha could run into it, take all the time that he needed, and pick out Gavi at the back post. So honestly speaking, this match, in my opinion, was decided in part due to the decisions that were made by Jorge Sampaoli. The other side of it were the decisions that Barcelona were forced to make in-game, because Sergio Busquets coming off after just 3 minutes isn't exactly what Barca expected. And you could tell, especially for those first 10 or so minutes after Kessie came on for Busquets, that Barca were taken back just a little bit. But they ultimately were able to recover from that. And we started to see Kessie in particular growing more and more in confidence in the game. And look, the last match review against Real Betis, I said that I was impressed with the cameo that Kessie had, because he came on and he brought a lot of calm in a game where Barcelona needed it. And this time around, he came on into the game, settled down relatively quickly, and before you know it, come the second half, he was very much at the heart of, or near, everything that was going right for FC Barcelona. All the good things that Barca were doing defensively and offensively. Of course, he had a few moments here and there where he gave the ball away cheaply, and also there was that one time where he let Brian Hill do him in, which was like filthy. Brian Hill, you are a filthy footballer. Anywho, that was basically that in as far as the thoughts that I had with this, because ultimately I felt that what gave Barcelona the win here was the determination of one man in particular, a certain Raphinha. Now, I have to be pretty honest. I find Raphinha, especially with his performance in this game, to be a bit of a weird player. How many times have you seen a player be both your worst player and your best player in the same game? Because that's exactly what happened here with Raphinha up until that, first goal that Barcelona scored, where he took the ball down brilliantly, played it into Kessie, who then fed Jordi Alba. Raphinha had been terrible. Everything he did, his decision making at that point had been terrible, and things just didn't look like they were going his way, and Xavi was ready to pull that boy out of that game. Then all of a sudden, he gets in that goal, he gets involved in that Jordi Alba goal, and the next thing you know, he's pulling off what was a brilliant assist for Gavi, and then he's getting in on the action and scoring his first goal at Camp Nou. Overall, Raphinha was our best and our worst player, and it's crazy to say that, but I'm glad that he went from worst to best and not the other way around, because I probably wouldn't have been able to hold my composure if I witnessed this game go the other way. I would not have stayed composed. But look, I'm composed because FC Barcelona are Anywho, so moving on from Raphinha, now I can talk team ratings, and I'm giving the team here another 8 out of 10. Yes, that's right. It came really close to being a 9. You know what? Let's be kind-hearted, okay? In part, this is about celebrating the fact that Barca are 8 points clear, but that doesn't mean I have to go with an 8 rating. So we're going to give Barcelona a 9 out of 10 here, because that performance was nearly flawless. Nearly, I say, because there were one or two things that you could still pick at that performance about. First being our final third ball. It just wasn't there once again, especially during the first half. It just wasn't happening. Second half, I don't know what Xavi did to these guys. I don't know what Xavi is putting in these dudes' drinks at halftime, but it's working, and they're getting in the final third, and they're creating chances, and they're scoring from them. Okay, so looking at all of that in totality, I think 9 out of 10 is a pretty fair rating. Xavi Hernandez as well gets himself a 9 out of 10 here. Yes, again 9 out of 10 because he wasn't exactly flawless. Jorge Sampaoli did out-tactic Xavi during the first half. I don't know if that's a word. If it's not, put it in the dictionary. Because Jorge Sampaoli out-tactic Xavi during that first half, okay? And Sevilla actually towards the end of that first half were coming on very strong, all right? But Xavi put out the stops at halftime. He gave the talks. He put the juices in the players' juice boxes, the players' Gatorades or their waters, whatever they were drinking at halftime. Xavi put a little something in there and gave them a little speech, and they came out and they absolutely dominated the second half, and it was basically flawless from Barca, even to the point of keeping that clean sheet. Marc-Andre Ter Stegen, hats off to you. 15 clean sheets this season, 15 from 20 matches. This man has only conceded in 5 separate matches and he's conceded no more than 7 goals. So I don't know how I ended up talking about Ter Stegen. I'm that excited, I guess. But this was Xavi's rating and it's a 9 out of 10. Alrighty. So to then wrap all of this up, we're going to talk man of the match. And this was one occasion where I really couldn't pick between 2 players. And I know you're going to be like, oh, well, how fortunate you couldn't pick one, so you just decided to give us 2. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. And those 2 are 2 players who I admittedly say I owe an apology: Raphinha and Jordi Alba. Start with the Brazilian winger. Once Dembele was injured, I remember telling people that I'm not exactly sure if Raphinha is ready to properly fill that Dembele void. Now, in as much as he's definitely not filled that void in the dribbles completed department, because he could barely get past Acuna today. He couldn't get past Acuna today, but one department where he has definitely filled in Dembele's boots is the goal contributions department. Okay, assists and goals scored. Today he scored 1, he created 1, and he had the key pass for the other one, which was pretty impressive, I should say so myself. And it was also pretty impressive from the other man who I owe an apology to, Jordi Alba, who, I've just generally been of the idea that he's become a bit of a waste man. Yes, I know, I'm totally out of pocket. I take that back. Jordi Alba, you do have the juice still in you, and we saw it against Girona when he came on with the assist, and he comes on here as well for Alejandro Balde, and he gets the assist, he gets a goal as well. Pretty clinical finish once again, I would say, by Jordi Alba there. A striker would have been proud of that. So Jordi Alba and Raphinha are the men of the match, or the man of the match. I don't know how it's supposed to be put, but yeah, those are my pick for man of the match. Do let me know your thoughts though in the comment section if you're watching this from YouTube. Who was your man of the match? And what were your takeaways from the game as you saw it? What were your thoughts? And also, ultimately, what are your thoughts about FC Barcelona being 8 points clear of Real Madrid? Alrighty, thank you for tuning in. Have a great day, and Forza Barca.